Hey guys, me in progress here. Wanted to start off this back to basics series and come out swinging. Another video that I wanted to put out there was how to do your brows. If you're newer to brows, I think they can change your look and really enhance your facial features and really like help frame your face. I also think it just makes you look super put together, polished, and yeah, there's definitely different ways you can do your brows. So I don't, and it really just depends on what your natural brow looks like. So I'm gonna zoom you in and we'll chat a little bit more about brows, and I'll go ahead and go through how I do my brows. So as far as brows go, there are different types of looks that you can achieve. So there has been more boxier brows. That was really a trend back, I think, I wanna say like 2012, 2014, 15 time frame, like around then, before like fluffy brows and more natural brows have become more of the trend. Especially recently, fluffier brows have been more of what you see on people, and they are honestly a low level of like effort that you have to do. But for me, who has such thin brows, they're super sparse too naturally, I definitely need a little bit of help. And some of you who have more fuller brows may not need to fill in your brows, but for those of us that do, this is how I do it. I like to use, this is my all-time favorite product. It is the ColourPop Brow Boss, which there are very good options out there if you don't have access to ColourPop. ColourPop is available at Ulta stores and online, and I think that good alternatives are probably the L'Oreal, I don't remember it's not the brow definer, but I will make sure to put it up here, but there's a L'Oreal brow pencil that's really good. NYX Micro Brow is really good as well, and I actually enjoy the Ulta Beauty Ultra Slim Brow Pencil. I think slim brow pencils like this one are a lot easier to manipulate the product and have control over. If that's not your jam, that's totally fine. There's also other types of pencils at the drugstore that you could use. I would say, again, if you're newer to makeup, try out a couple different products over time. Don't purchase a ton just because that's a waste of money, and you don't want to do that. Like, if you're not super invested in makeup, you don't want to do that. Use up the product that you have. I think the most important thing to brows is finding the right shade. A good way to do that is honestly going into like Ulta's benefit counter. They can help shade match you, and then you can find something similar at the drugstore, or going into Sephora and asking the same type of help, or going to Nordstrom and trying to find the right types of shade. Ultimately, it should be a shade that is similar to your hair color, so in your natural hair color. So if you have more warm toned hair, or if you have more like cooler ashier hair, like if you're a blonde girl, you want to get probably an ashy toned brown pencil, whereas someone like me who's more caramel tan, you're definitely going to want to get something, I've got warm undertones, something more warm toned. So that is something that you need to take into account. Now, shape, it really, for me, I like to make sure I follow my natural shape, and I will show you in these steps how I actually put my brows on. So you'll see a lot of my videos where I just kind of go in, but I didn't start out like that. I started off with this method that was used on me at the Anastasia Beverly Hills counter. They used to have a counter at Nordstrom in Alderwood. If you're from Seattle, you know where Alderwood is. They used to have a counter at Nordstrom where I'd get my brows done, and this is the method that they've used, and it really worked for me. Not to say this is the method that's going to work for you. At the end of the day, you just need to practice. Practice makes perfect. But these are the steps that I like to take to frame my brows. So now that we've talked product, let's talk about our actual brows. I like to do a little bit of cleanup and tweeze some of the baby hairs and keep to the natural shape. You'll see on my brows, let's scooch in a little bit, there are a couple hairs here that are strayaways. I like to keep, again, the natural shape of my brows as much as possible. And then, yes, I will pluck those brows. So I'm going to quickly pluck them to get like a cleaner look. Now, another good option is to go actually get them done. Once in a while, I will get them done maybe like once or twice a year. I honestly don't get them done very often because I do like to pluck them myself and I do fill them in. And then I also, as you've seen before, use concealer to prime my eyes, which really cancels out and hides any of those smaller little hairs. And now that we've done that, now we'll actually go in and shape my brows. So this is what I will do. This is, again, I think I've mentioned this before. I used to work at Nordstrom, and at the Nordstrom Linwood at Alderwood Mall, there was an Anastasia Beverly Hills counter. Before they really expanded into like eyeshadow palettes and have become more of like a cosmetic line, they used to focus more on just brows. And I used to they offer brow services there as well. I don't think the counter is still there. I'm not sure. I haven't been to check, but they offer brow services. And the way that the woman taught me how to do brows is this method, and it is to make a mark using your nose to see where your brow ends, making a mark using your nose, and taking your brow pencil or your brush and marking at the end. And then for where it begins, you will want to take the center of your nostril up and mark there. And then as far as the arch of your brow, some people don't have a natural arch. I have a natural arch, and you can see the two arches are a little bit different, which is okay. Biggest takeaway, I should have said this at the beginning, biggest takeaway is that brows are sisters, not twins. If you can get them to look like twins, more power to you. I cannot, so just remember, they are sisters, not twins. And for the arch, best way to do it is 45-degree angle from the center of your nostril and making a little bit of a mark right there. Now it's like connecting the dots. I like to start at the very bottom and shape from the bottom of my brow. So I'll go from where I marked the farthest inside point and follow the shape of my brow. So once I've filled in the bottom portion of my brow, what I will next do is start flicking up and filling in with hair-like strokes, just to add a little bit more opacity to my brow. And if you have, you know, just pressed really hard and not made a boo-boo or anything, but like made it too dark, spoolie to blend in the product is the way to go. Next, I will go ahead and start working on the top of my brow. So I made this line up here from when we marked, and I will start again tracing the natural shape of my brow and then creating that arch. And honestly, this is the part I think that takes the most practice, is actually shaping your brows, filling them in and zhuzhing them up to get them even in color. That part's a lot easier. It's the practicing of actually creating a shape. And once I've created that outline at the top, I'll go ahead and start filling in where there's no color. So you'll see that I have filled in a lot where it's pretty opaque and have created a lot of room here. You can see the difference that this is pretty sparse. This one has a lot more shape and definition, and it is a lot more full looking. It's totally an illusion. So we will continue filling that in. The mirror is all the way over here, to get the opacity even throughout the rest of the brow. And what I like to do once I'm done with the brows, I like to just spoolie through, really blend in that product. And I spoolie heavily on the beginning of my brow, not the tail end, because I like the gradient type of look where it's a little lighter closer to the beginning of the brow and then darker at the end. And then I will trace out that bottom outline one more time just to give it a little bit more definition. Okay. I'll also trace up the top as well if I need to, and fill in a little bit more if I've over spoolied, which I did. Now that we have one brow, we have something to kind of use as a guide. The second brow I find is always the easiest. So I will go ahead and do the marking, middle, the end, and the arch. And start at the bottom. Twist up. I like to have this much product out. For those of you who are beginners who may be a little heavy-handed like me, maybe a little bit less, but because I've been doing my brows for a while, I know to be a little bit lighter to the touch. Start building some that density. Spoolie to blend when necessary. Now shaping the top. What I like to do to get this to match is kind of fake draw, like pretend to draw a line in between, and then start here as far as how wide this brow should be. It's a good little trick. I'm outlining my natural shape. Now I'm filling in, since I have those outlines. Now a good way to also like sharpen or clean up if you like a little bit more definition is actually using your finger. If you've created a little bit too thick somewhere, if it's not very straight, using your fingers to clean up that area. And those are the pretty much finished brows. What I'll do when I'm done with both is kind of assess the situation, see if one is more opaque than the other, and try to even them out by either filling in or spoolie, using my spoolie to shear it out, or using my finger to clean up and sharpen any lines. This brow is a little tiny bit thicker, so I will use my finger and try to thin out this brow a little bit. It is a little thicker, but not by much. Cool. And that is how I do my brows. Let's zoom you out. Usually, I feel like zooming out, you can tell even more what you need to work on. I think being close up to your mirror is really good to get used to filling in your brows and just creating the shape and definition. And then zooming out, you can really perfect them and make them look a little bit more tidy. But that is how I do my brows. If I had to recap the steps, it's one, making sure you know what kind of brows you're trying to achieve for one, understanding that there are different brow shapes and they are sisters, not twins. Two, finding the right kind of brow product and brow shade for you. My tips were to use a pencil. They are a little bit more forgiving than maybe a pomade. Pomades are once they're set down to dry, they're like gel products. Once they're set down to dry, it's really hard to manipulate the product afterwards. Whereas with brow pencils, you have a lot more room for error that you can clean up and fix. You need to find the right shade, which I think you should go to either like a Nordstrom, Ulta, or Sephora to really help you do that. But the best way to figure out your shade is to understand your hair color and your undertone. Is your skin more like yellow and golden underneath, or is it more cool and pink? And again, I think the easiest way to figure out what your brow shade is your hair.
Honestly, if you ask someone who works at one of those beauty stores, they're going to be more than happy to help you figure it out. Even if you go to Ulta, I think Ulta is the best place to go because you get to look at high-end stuff and then try to dupe it out over with their drugstore items. So go there, figure out your brow shade, and pick up a product. And after that, it's really just using that method that I showed you, the three-point method, where start of the brow is the middle of your nostril, the end of the brow is taking your brow tool, whether it's a brush or a pencil, putting it at the end of your nose for the end of your brow, and then using the middle of your nostril again, but angling it a 45-degree to figure out where your arch is. And with that, I think those are the primary steps. And if you like these kind of videos, give it a thumbs up. If you like this Back to Basics series, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, and with that, bonus points for you if you ring the bell to get notified for whenever I post. Alright, I will see you in my next video. I need to do the rest of my face, I know, but I really just wanted to show you the brows. See you in my next video. Bye.